Plugins are a big part of music production, and today I want to talk about my philosophy when it comes to purchasing them. Because when it comes to plugins, we can sink in literally thousands of dollars if we really wanted to, because the market is huge and there's so many different types of plugins that you can get, so many different types of processes that you may need, so many different types of flavors for each of the processes. And basically, you could spend the rest of your life working and just continuously buy plugins with all of the money that you make. Of course, that wouldn't be a good idea because there's also things like rent and food and all of the more important stuff. So we tend to want to spend the least amount possible on our plugins. Now, in order to do that, probably the biggest thing that is going to hurt you are impulse purchases. And these are the kind of purchases, as the name suggests, that is just something like, oh, I see that plugin in an ad or something like that. It looks cool. I'm going to buy that. And to be honest, I have done that, of course. I'm a human at the end of the day, and sometimes I just see a really cool tool, I pick it up, and maybe I like it for a day or two, or I play with it once, and then I never use it again. That would be an impulse purchase. But most of the time when it comes to plugins, I tend to spread out the process. So when I hear of a cool plugin, I'd like to watch a couple of tutorials about it. I'd like to, get to know the workflow of the plugin before I make a decision on buying it. I also need to find out if there is a way that I can incorporate it inside of my own workflow. And for this last part, there's no better way of finding that out than trying some demos. Now, of course, when testing out demos, everything is going to be dependent on the terms of the demo. Some demos, they allow you to test it for a week, while others allow you to test it for an unlimited amount of time, but it just plays some noise every once in a while. So just in terms of the time frame and the way that you're working with the demo and the way that you're trying to see if the plugin is right for you, it depends on the type of demo that you're going to get. But what I would personally do when it comes to testing out demos is just to see not so much if you like the sound of a plugin or something like that, but mainly if you like the workflow of a plugin. Because at the end of the day, a lot of plugins sound very similar, but what matters is if it's easy to use, if it's easy to get the sound out of it that you want. And you may not say okay, this is 100% the sound that I want to get out of this plugin, but I'm 95% there. I need some other processes to clean it up a little bit, but I'm very fast at dialing in that 95%. So that last 5%, I just need a little bit of time to dial it in, as opposed to this other plugin where I can get 100% of the sound that I want, but it takes ages to actually dial in the settings needed to get the sound that I want. Now, I've talked about this before on a live stream, but when it comes to how music production changes when it becomes your job, there's a lot of things that you need to think about, and this is one of the things that you need to think about in that regard. In the sense that, for me personally, what is important isn't sitting around and experimenting and finding happy accidents and that kind of stuff. I have a sound in my head that I want to get out of a plugin, so I open up the plugin and I want to dial that sound in as fast as possible. Now, another consideration that I make nowadays is if the plugin does something new for me that I don't have in any other tool, it may be able to get a sound that I want faster than another tool that I have. But if the only thing that I get from a plugin is the same sounds but a little bit faster, then spending a lot of money on that may not actually be worth it. It would need to also provide me with just more possibilities and more sounds that I'm able to get out of the plugin. And just to show you how big of a problem this is, if I go to the effects and I go over here, you can see that when it comes to plugins, I'm pretty much set for the rest of my life. I don't need more plugins than this. What I may need is more possibilities in terms of sounds that I'm able to create. So getting plugins that do the same thing that I'm already able to do doesn't really make sense for me. By the way, I realize right now that I haven't actually said what I mean when I say creating sounds or making sounds. I mean not just the synthesis part of it, the sound design part of it, but also taking a sound as an input and then just altering the sound to a different sound, right? Applying an effect, applying an EQ, everything that we do inside of audio processing, just in general inside of plugins, I would consider that creating a sound in a way. You're creating a sound on top of the sound that you already have. In the sense that an EQ with a high frequency boost is going to create the sound of more high end because it increases the high end, right? That is the way that I would say that. So maybe that was a little bit unclear up until this point, but hopefully this explains a little bit what I mean there. Now, I guess the final thing that I'll say is that when it comes to this philosophy, I've been talking about plugins because it's a neat example and it's something that everybody resonates with. Everybody is spending a lot of money on all of the new plugins that they want to buy and that they want to have. And every Black Friday, you hear everybody complaining about it. It is spending season again. Let's go. Here goes my bank account again. So it's a good example, but of course, this philosophy can also be applied to sample packs, applied to preset packs, applied to new DAWs, applied to outboard gear, applied to literally everything that you buy for your music production tools. What is important at the end of the day is that the thing that you have in your head, the sound that you want to create, the track that you're writing, it has to come into the DAW as fast as possible. And there are several tools that we use for that, and some tools are going to be better suited to your workflow than other tools. This is also the philosophy that I've been applying to Bitwig. For example, when it comes to switching over DAW from Ableton to Bitwig, something that I've been teasing a little bit and I've been experimenting with it on stream, it doesn't really matter if it's just a little bit better or something like that, or even if it gives you a couple of extra ways of working or ways that you can create sounds that you could otherwise not. At the end of the day, what really matters is the workflow aspect, the speed at which you can get your idea into said DAW, whether that be Ableton or Bitwig. And one of the problems specifically with switching DAWs and why I am so hesitant of doing it is that when you need to learn a new software, you're naturally a lot slower in working in that software. So imagine that you're at a point in time here, and you can either switch to Bitwig or you can stay at Ableton. If you are staying at Ableton, you can imagine that you're just continuously working at the speed that you were working before. You're not slowing down because you don't have to learn anything new. But once you switch to Bitwig, you get to a halt because now everything is new, none of the buttons are where they're supposed to be, everything is different in terms of the workflow, the sample browser is on the right instead of the left, all of that kind of stuff. It takes a little while to get used to. And anybody that tells you that it doesn't take a long time to get used to that is lying to you, because when it comes to stuff like muscle memory and really getting in that creative flow, it is really important that you shave off that extra half a second that it takes you to find the specific action that you want to do. Here's a good example of that. When I have a MIDI track over here and I want to open up Serum, what I do is I double right click and then I have this menu over here where I go into Serum and it opens up Serum for me. It takes a little while to load, but the act of finding Serum and actually opening it up in here is almost instantaneously for me. Now, seeing that I open up Serum maybe 40 times per production, maybe a little bit more if you count all of the sounds that I also delete, you can see that there's a big difference between this workflow and going in here, going into plugins, trying to remember even where this is. I probably have it somewhere in here. I'll probably have to scroll down to the S somewhere. S. There we have Serum. Here we go. Let's find Serum. There we are. It is opened. And now we have Serum. You can immediately see that if you multiply that by a whole production worth of the amount of times that you have to open up something, and then to all of the effects that you're opening up, it is a lot slower to work in it like that. Now, of course, this menu thing over here, it is an external tool that I use, so this isn't actually part of Ableton itself, but it is a massive improvement of my workflow that I've been able to build up because I've been using Ableton for the last 8-9 years now, and I've learned of this tool's existence. I have set up everything, I've organized everything in this menu. This took maybe a full day of work, organize all of my plugins into lists like this. But I believe at this point I've already kind of recouped that time by just not having to waste a lot of time scrolling in here to find the plugins that I need. So that's everything that I wanted to talk about today. I just really wanted to chat about this subject. I guess I have a few videos nowadays that I just sit down and chat a little bit as opposed to showing you actually something inside of the DAW. I did the one on collaborations, I did the one on sessions, and now I'm doing this one. So let me know if you like this kind of video, if you like this kind of content. And of course, if you guys do like this kind of stuff, I'll make more of this. Also, if you want to see a specific topic, you can of course leave a comment down below, and then I can tackle that as well in one of these videos. But that's going to be it. I hope that you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.